First this hour, a Libyan ship with aid destined for Gaza is reported to have resumed its course heading for Egypt. Earlier, the ship had stalled some 100 kilometres from Gaza. Well, for the latest on the story, we're now crossing live to Paula Sleer, who's in Israel, for us. Paula, what appears to be the situation with the ship at the moment?
Well, the latest we're hearing is that the ship has diverted its course and is now sailing towards the Egyptian port city of El Arish. Now, we do understand that there are 8 Israeli naval warships accompanying it. So this does seem to suggest that Israel doesn't want to take any chances and that it is making sure that the ship is in fact sailing towards Egypt before it leaves it alone. Now, earlier the ship was stranded in international waters for several hours. According to the captain of the ship, this was because the main engine had malfunctioned and his men were working on it. We also heard from the organisers of the ship, however, that all communication line with the ship had been jammed and they presumably were blaming the Israelis. Now, the Israelis, for their side, do seem to suggest that all of this has been a delaying tactic. They have indicated that there was some kind of disagreement on board the ship as to where it would ultimately sail, whether Egypt or whether Gaza. We've also been receiving reports that there have been indirect talks between Israeli authorities and the organisers of the ship, the members of the Gaddafi Foundation in Tripoli, Libya.
Well, could we still see a last-minute change of course, do you think, pointing the ship towards Gaza?
Well, certainly that is possible, and that is why the Israeli naval warships will remain accompanying this ship. The last thing Israel wants is a repeat performance of what happened 6 weeks ago when 9 Turkish activists were killed in a similar attempt by a Turkish ship to try and get humanitarian aid to Gaza. But the ship organisers, for their side, say that this is not a provocation. They say that they will not resist, and they have said this from the beginning, they will not resist any Israeli attempts to come on board. But having said that, of course, the Israelis are not taking any chances. So at this stage, we are still hearing preliminary contradictory reports, so the situation's still tense on the ground.
Well, how has Israel, Paula, been reacting to this so far?
Well, we've heard from the Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister, Danny Ayalon, and he says that the fact that the United States and the European Union has urged the ship's organisers to divert it from Gaza towards Egypt legitimizes Israel's position. Israel maintains, of course, that its blockade on Gaza is legitimate. Danny Ayalon saying that Israel would have no problem with the ship landing and docking in Egypt, and there the Egyptian authorities would check the cargo, make sure that there are no weapons on board before transferring it through to Egypt. The Israelis saying that the Egyptians have the same interest as them in ensuring that no kind of ammunition, no kind of weapons make their way to the Gaza Strip.
Well, if the ship does dock in Egypt, as you say, Paula, will the aid still reach Palestinians in Gaza?
Well, certainly that does seem to be the case. The Egyptian Red Crescent Society would be responsible for offloading all the cargo. We're talking here of about some 2,000 tons of food and medicine. They would then make sure that it is transferred through the Egyptian-Gaza border crossing at Rafah to Palestinians on the other side. But the most important thing, perhaps, about the ship is not so much whether or not it defied the Israeli blockade. Perhaps the most important thing is that once again, world attention has been brought to the plight of some 1.5 million Palestinians who live in the Gaza Strip. And this, of course, will be one of the intentions of activists around the world who have been campaigning tirelessly for the world to do something to help the Palestinians in Gaza.
OK, Paula, many thanks for now. That was RT's Paula Sleer reporting from Ashdod for us.